The Big 12 is all over the news. I woke up this morning and hadn't even put my contact lens in and just glanced at the eye, Josh, and there it is. Uncle Dennis, breaking news. The Big 12 considering private equity investment in exchange for 20% share of the league? Well, whomst amongst us could have seen this coming? Also, several others throughout the day, the Dellingers, the Thamels of the world, etc., they ended up breaking the news that not only was that happening, but guess what else the Big 12 is doing? The Big 12 also having the audacity to shop naming rights. So it may not just be the Big 12 anymore. It could be the fill-in-the-blank Big 12, or it could be the fill-in-the-blank conference, period, because they haven't had 12 teams in that thing since like 2011 anyway, so is the number really all that important? What do I tell you guys from time to time? I speak in coded language, and I admit that, and I tell you what I can when I can. But I tell you, you're not wasting your time watching the show. Okay, so sometimes I have to do it in the form of Easter eggs because the trade-off for people trusting you with information is they tell you, shut up and don't tell anyone this. And it sucks because I wish I could just tell you everything we hear behind the scenes. But one of you, actually like 50 of you, picked up on this today. When this news broke, you said, hold on, wait a second. This sounds like something I heard, I don't know, over the past 6 months. Roll it, Colin. Let me give you one piece of advice, though. There's a little shark fin just offshore, and it's Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12. And just a little word to the wise out there. I don't know how wise the folks are we're talking to, but just a little word to the wise. Don't let that guy get any traction. Don't let Brett Yormark find his footing. You better keep your foot on their neck. Now, I am rooting for the alternative. I am rooting for the Big 12 to continue to, against all odds, continue to rise. They shouldn't even be alive right now. I think it would be very, very penny wise, pound foolish to let that guy, who truth be told, on equal footing, could probably run circles around all of you. It would be very, very penny wise, pound foolish to let him get his feet and his conference get its feet under it. They are finding their footing, friends. They're finding their footing by the day. Now, here's how this is supposed to work. The SEC and the Big Ten are supposed to be behemoths, and the rest of you are just supposed to fade into the abyss. That's what you're supposed to do. Some have acquiesced. Example, where is the Pac-12 tonight? Does anyone see the Pac-12 tonight? No, you can find the Pac-12 on the back of a milk carton at the grocery store. The Big 12 has chosen a different tact because they found someone who has existed in this world long before he actually came into this world. Brett Yormark has executed 7, 8, 9-figure deals in other walks of life long before he ever got here. Now, there are several ways to think about this, and I know 98% of you just want to watch the games on Saturday. So I always view it through that lens. How does this impact you? Well, a lot of people heard these reports today, okay? Keep in mind, you got two of them. One of them, private equity. There's a knock on the door. Private equity could be coming into the Big 12. And then there's the Big 12 could sell their naming rights to Allstate and be called the Allstate Big 12 Conference. Well, it's all the same, Josh. It's not. It's not close to the same thing. Now, it is true enough that this is all about the revenue gap. And if you just started watching college football like 30 seconds ago and this is all confusing, let me simplify it for you. The SEC and the Big Ten got a whole lot of money. The Big 12 does not. In fact, the rest of the conferences in college football do not. The SEC and the Big Ten make all that money because they've got 9/10 of the most valuable properties in the sport that most people want to watch. And they're all wearing SEC or Big Ten stickers on the back of their helmets, and the rest is very, very sparse out there. There are people like us, frankly, a lot of folks who watch this show, who love the sport. We love college football. So we'll be dialed into Kansas State versus Iowa State. But the more casual crowd out there, and yes, you have to tailor your marketing strategy to them, they're not as attracted to Oklahoma State versus Texas Tech as they would be Penn State versus Ohio State or Ole Miss versus Alabama. We all understand that. So what do? Well, you can, like I said, do what the Pac-12 did and fumble your way into irrelevance and eventual extinction, or you can get creative and you can innovate. You can think outside the box and you can define what Big 12 strategy is. And Big 12 strategy, if it's going to succeed, has to look way different. So two different things going on here. They are not the same thing. One of them is as simple as selling basically the right to put a sticker on the side of your conference. And if Allstate wants to pony up the money, If State Farm wants to pony up the money, if Pop-Tarts wants to pony up the money, go for it. But that's the long and short of that. That private equity game is a little bit different ball game. Now, there are admittedly a lot of people who watch this show. I know because I converse with you behind the scenes who know a lot more about that world than I do. I have dipped my toe in it because I own this brand. And so this brand has skyrocketed in value. Now, it's not the Big 12. It's not a college football conference, but I've had conversations about that. So I know like a little sliver of an inkling about it, but I don't know it to the degree Brett Yormark does. Now, there are other people who, in other walks of life, are very familiar with this. And they know, for example, if you're reading headlines from one Dennis Dodd that suggests the Big 12 is exploring a massive private equity infusion of cash, which is just what this is. It's an infusion of cash in exchange for a 20% stake, a fifth stake in your conference. Here's how my mind works. My mind says, okay, well, that's great. You get cash in the short term, but in the long term, don't you own 20% less of all the revenue that's going to come your way? The answer is obviously yes. So then the follow-up in my mind is, okay, with that cash infusion, do you have it within your power to increase the value of your product enough to where you overcome only making 80% of your revenue because it would have been 100%? So in other words, are you making up the ground above and beyond what it's costing you to take that cash infusion? I think they've got a plan. I don't know what it is. I think it's very, very important to note right now, we don't know the full scope of this. Brett Yormark's not an idiot. That's what I do know. So Brett Yormark has forgotten things about this thing that not only we don't know, we aren't even privy to yet. So I'm in the wait-and-see approach on that. But it should be noted, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey has weighed in. Quote, there are cautionary tales about private equity out there. I've had half a dozen or more meetings with representatives, all good people, all learning opportunities. But I think people have to exercise a level of care before just jumping in. It was unclear as to whether that strategy is supposed to exist when it comes to conference realignment. It seems the SEC jumped pretty quick at Texas and Oklahoma. But I digress. Here's the thing. Like I said at the beginning, the Big 12 is not going to sit back and just accept their role. It's very easy to say that from the top of the mountain, by the way. No disrespect to Greg Sankey, but it's very easy to say that from the top of the mountain. They don't have many other options in the Big 12 because of their mentality. See, if their mentality was to just accept irrelevance, accept B-tier status, second-class citizenship, it'd be okay. They just take the scraps. They're not really interested in that. They're interested, believe it or not, in the Big 12 in remaining viable as one of the power conferences in college football. And you know what? I'm not crazy about private equity coming into this sport at all, but I almost have to separate that and say, good on you for trying. Good on you for not just basically bending a knee to the Big Ten or bending the knee to the SEC and saying, yes, sir, what can we have? Like, what will you let us be? Forget about what they'll let you be. Go be whoever you can be. U.S. Army. So I get where the Big 12's head's at. I despise, at a cellular level, that college athletics has come to this. Once again, not the naming rights thing. The naming rights thing is small potatoes compared to what the private equity thing is. So the private equity thing is boring to talk about, and I'm not going to spend any more time on that. But I do want to just touch on this whole naming rights thing, because that's what garnered a majority of your attention today when you saw this headline. Because when you saw this headline, you didn't care about minority equity stakes. You didn't care about return on investment. That's what parents talk about, not us. Many of you are. But nevertheless, we don't like talking about that stuff. It's boring. What do we like talking about? Well, we like talking about naming rights. Who's going to buy the naming rights? And as you know, okay, we can't have nice things around here. We could have had Whataburger come in and name it the Whata Conference. Nope, not going to happen. We could have had Pop-Tart come in and just name them the Pop 12. Nope, can't have that. What do we get? All-State. That's the leading candidate apparently in the clubhouse, All-State. I got nothing against All-State, but if you guys seriously go and try and make that thing the All-State 12 or the All-State Conference, and this is not me speculating, this is being reported from multiple reputable sources, that's the leader in the clubhouse. I will switch to State Farm out of spite. You're not getting that out of me. I still call X Twitter. So if I'm still calling X Twitter, you better believe I'm calling the Big 12 over some random sanitized corporate name that is not fun. There's nothing fun about Allstate. Allstate would be smart to buy the naming rights and then have some fun with the rights that they've purchased. Having said that, I'm not running marketing. I'm not consulting for Allstate, although I think it would be a half-decent investment on their part, but I'm not running a consulting firm right quick. But I did want to show you what Landon came up with, because there was some good stuff floating around the internet today. Landon just ats the Big 12 conference. Hear me out. He brings Southwest into the equation. Southwest Airlines, not exactly flush in cash at the moment from what I understand, but in an alternate universe, you bring Southwest Airlines in, and you just rename that thing the Southwest Conference. As I said when I saw that, you guys might as well pack it in. No one will do better than Landon today. The Southwest Conference. That's what we need. All due respect, we don't need the All-State 12. Give me the Southwest Conference. Give me the Pop-Tart 12. Can we please, for once in our lives, have some fun with the greatest sport in the world? Can we please do that?